The 7 dark sides of nursing homes, why I regret ever moving in. I was sitting by the window in my room, staring out at the garden I wasn't allowed to walk through alone. That's when it really hit me. I didn't just move into a nursing home. I gave up parts of myself I didn't even know I could lose. The rhythm of my life, the little things that made my day mine, gone, replaced with schedules, call buttons, waiting, and a strange kind of silence. Even when the hallways were buzzing with noise. When you're younger, you hear about nursing homes in a practical way. They're clean, organized, full of staff trained to help. And maybe that's all true on paper. But what they don't write in the brochure is how it feels to watch your independence slowly unravel. How it changes you when your choices are filtered through policies, shift changes, and someone else's timeline. I didn't go into this decision lightly. My health was changing. My kids had their own lives, and I didn't want to be a burden. It seemed like the responsible choice. And I told myself I'd adjust, that I'd find a new rhythm, make friends, maybe even enjoy the simplicity of it. But the truth is, nothing prepares you for the slow fading of identity that can happen here. You become room 112 instead of your name. You wait. A lot. You compromise more than you ever thought you would. And sometimes you don't even realize what you've given up until you look around and wonder, when did I stop feeling like myself? I'm not bitter, and this isn't a cry for sympathy. I just want to share the hard truths I wish someone had told me before I packed that suitcase. Because maybe, just maybe, if you're standing at this same crossroads, or if someone you love is, you'll walk into the decision with your eyes wide open. This isn't about blaming anyone. It's about understanding the full picture. Because the glossy tours, the polite staff, and the bright lobbies only show you part of the story. And the rest, well, that's what I'm here to talk about. Number 1, the loss of independence is deeper than you think. I knew I'd be giving up some independence when I moved into a nursing home. That was part of the deal, right? Someone to help with meals, meds, maybe even a little assistance getting dressed. I thought, okay, that's fair. I can live with that. But what I didn't realize, what no one really tells you, is that the loss of independence isn't just about needing help. It's about losing the right to choose, even in the smallest moments. Here, your day starts when someone else decides it starts. Meals are served at set times. Whether you're hungry or not, want to sleep in a little? Good luck. Prefer coffee before your shower instead of after? Not really an option. You might get used to it, sure, but getting used to it is very different from being okay with it. The part that stings the most is how quickly it happens. You don't even notice it at first. You let someone pick out your clothes because it's easier. You stop insisting on walking to the dining room because you're tired. Before long, you're watching yourself shrink, not in body but in spirit. And once you give up enough of those little choices, you start to feel like a guest in your own life. I always prided myself on being self-sufficient. I raised kids, ran a household, managed a career. I made hard decisions, kept things running, held people together. But here, I need permission for things I used to do without thinking, like opening a window or going outside. That might sound small, but trust me, after a while it adds up. It chips away at your sense of self. This isn't about being ungrateful. The staff here work hard. They mean well, but even the best caregivers can't give you back that deep internal sense of control. And without it, you start to feel more like a patient than a person. You begin to forget what it felt like to move through the world freely, with your own rhythm and preferences leading the way. It's easy to underestimate how much those everyday choices shape your identity until they're gone. And then you realize they were never small at all. Number 2, the community is not always a community. When people picture nursing homes, they often imagine constant companionship, chess games in the lounge, laughter in the hallways, shared meals with lively conversation. That's what I expected too. I thought I'd be surrounded by people I could relate to, people with stories, humor, depth, but what I found was something different. Yes, there are people everywhere, but presence isn't the same as connection. Some folks keep to themselves. Others are dealing with memory loss so severe, communication is hard. And let's be honest, just because we're all older doesn't mean we automatically click. There's a strange quiet in these places sometimes, a loneliness that sinks in even when the room is full. It's the kind of loneliness that comes from not really being known. I tried to join the activities, bingo, crafts, even movie night, but many of those things felt more like distractions than genuine opportunities to connect. Some people come alive during those events, and I'm happy for them. But for others, it's just a way to pass time. You start to realize that shared space doesn't always mean shared experience. And then there's the subtle hierarchy. Yes, even here, some residents are more mobile, more mentally sharp, more outspoken. Others fade into the background, especially those with more complex needs. It's not cruel, just human nature. People form cliques, and not everyone finds their way in. I had a few good conversations in the beginning, but friendships are hard to maintain when people are in and out of the hospital, or when memory starts slipping. You don't always get to hold on to the people who matter. What I've learned is that community is something that takes effort to build, and even more effort to maintain. In here, that effort doesn't always get made, not because people don't care, but because they're tired, distracted, or simply trying to hold themselves together. You can be surrounded by people every single day and still feel unseen. That's why I want to say this to anyone thinking about a move like this. Don't assume community is a guarantee. If connection is what you crave, you might need to work twice as hard to find it. Or consider other living options that foster more intentional relationships. Because loneliness isn't about being alone. It's about feeling invisible. And that's a feeling that no one prepares you for. Number 3, the quality of care is inconsistent. Before I moved in, I imagined care as something smooth and consistent, well-trained professionals attending to my needs with attention and warmth. I thought I'd be looked after the way I once looked after my own parents, with patience, kindness, and care that had heart behind it. And on some days, I got exactly that. But on others, I didn't. And that's the hard part, the inconsistent. Let me be clear, this isn't about villainizing caregivers. Most of them are doing their best. Some go above and beyond angels in scrubs. Truly. But the reality is, these facilities are often understaffed. Overworked nurses and aides can only stretch so far. And when the staff is tired, rushed, or spread too thin, the quality of care suffers. Not because they don't care, but because they simply can't keep up. There were mornings I waited an hour or more for someone to help me out of bed. Nights where I rang the call button, only for it to be ignored because someone else's emergency took priority. There were times when medication was late, meals were cold, and questions went unanswered. And every time that happened, I felt a little smaller, a little more helpless. When you're in a place like this, you realize how vulnerable you are, how much of your comfort and health depends on other people showing up on time and doing their jobs well. Most days they do. But it only takes a few days of being forgotten or brushed aside to change how safe you feel. And then there's the turnover. Staff come and go. One week you have someone who knows your name, remembers how you like your coffee, and checks in with a smile. The next week they're gone, replaced by someone new who's overwhelmed and just trying to learn the ropes. That revolving door of faces makes it hard to build trust. And without trust, it's hard to feel secure. Families often don't see this side of things. When they visit, everything seems fine. But they're not here at 2 a.m. when you press the button and no one comes. They don't feel the difference between being cared for and being cared about. Consistent care means more than just physical help. It means emotional safety. It means knowing that when you need something big or small, someone will be there. And when that consistency wavers, it's not just inconvenient. It's unsettling. It makes you feel like you're just another task on a very long to-do list. I don't share this to scare anyone. I share it because it's a reality worth knowing. If you're considering this path, ask about staffing, ask about turnover, ask how they handle emergencies. The way you're cared for in your later years matters more than most people realize, until they're the ones sitting in the chair waiting to be seen. Number 4, you lose control of your environment. There's something sacred about having a space that feels like yours. A chair worn in just right, a favorite coffee mug, a familiar smell in the hallway, the window you crack open in the afternoon for a bit of breeze. These things seem small until you don't have them anymore. When I moved in here, I brought a box of framed photos, a couple of books, and a quilt I'd had for years. I was told I could decorate my room how I liked, and technically I could, but there are limits. No candles, no extension cords, no area rugs, no furniture that isn't approved. I get it. Safety regulations, but it doesn't feel like home when your comfort has to pass through policy. The walls are beige, the lighting is harsh. The air smells sterile most days, like a mix of hand sanitizer and mystery soup. My room doesn't have a proper kitchen, just a mini fridge. I'm not supposed to stock too much. Meals come when they come, and they taste how they taste. If I want a late-night snack or a quiet cup of tea in a real mug at midnight, I can't always have that. Even things like opening a window or adjusting the thermostat require permission or a staff member's help. There's no back porch to sit on, no quiet corner to sneak away to with a journal. There are common areas, sure, but they're not truly yours. And while the staff does their best to keep things clean and orderly, that also means your belongings are often rearranged, tidied, or even thrown out if they're considered a hazard. And then there's the noise. Buzzers going off, TVs blaring, footsteps in the hall at all hours. You don't realize how much silence is a luxury until it's replaced by a constant hum of activity that's not your own. One of the hardest things for me has been not having access to nature. I used to water my garden every morning, walk barefoot on the grass. Here, the garden's locked. You need someone to escort you if you want to step outside. And they're busy, so you wait, or you give up. Losing control of your environment slowly disconnects you from the life you once had. The colors, the sounds, the smells, all of it affects your state of mind more than you know. And when those things are out of your hands, it's easy to feel like you're floating in someone else's world, not living in your own. I think everyone deserves to feel grounded in the space they live in, especially in their later years. But here, comfort comes with conditions. And the cost of that comfort is the quiet erosion of your personal space, your preferences, your peace. Number 5, you start to feel forgotten. I remember the first few weeks after I moved in. My phone rang, often. My family visited, my friends check in, my grandkids sent little drawings in the mail. I felt missed. I felt remembered. But time has a funny way of stretching out and softening urgency. People get busy. Life moves on, but before long, those calls get fewer. The visits turn into holidays only. The silence starts to stretch longer between moments of connection. And then it happens. You start to feel like you've been quietly tucked away, like you're out of sight, out of mind. No one means to do it. I truly believe that. My children love me. My friends care, but when you're not part of the everyday rhythm of their lives anymore, you become background noise. And the saddest part, you start to understand it. You start making excuses for people. Oh, they're busy, she's got the kids. It's a long drive. You say those things out loud, but inside it hurts every time the phone doesn't ring. Being here sometimes feels like being put on a shelf. Life keeps happening outside these walls, and you watch it through windows and photos, trying to piece together what you're missing. Birthdays, milestones, even funerals. Sometimes you hear about them after the fact, and while you're trying not to take it personally, it's hard not to feel like you've been slowly erased from the story. It's not just family either. Society as a whole starts to forget you. You don't go to the grocery store anymore. You're not volunteering. You're not part of community groups. And because you're not seen, you're not included. The world moves fast, and no one sends it your forwarding address. And technology, it helps some, but not always. Texts don't replace hugs. Zoom calls don't carry the warmth of someone sitting beside you. Sometimes you're staring at a screen full of smiling faces, but you still feel completely alone, because digital connection can only reach so deep. There's a certain ache that comes with being forgotten. Not the kind that's loud or dramatic, but the kind that's quiet and constant. Like a radio playing faintly in the next room that no one ever turns up loud enough for you to hear. If you're considering a nursing home for yourself or someone you love, please remember this. Staying connected isn't just a nice thing. It's a lifeline, a 15-minute call, a postcard, a surprise visit. These things are small in effort, but massive in meaning. They remind us that we still matter, that we're still part of something beyond these walls, because no matter how old we are, no one wants to feel forgotten. Number 6, your identity begins to erode. But who you are doesn't just live in your name or your memories. It lives in your habits, your preferences, your rituals. It lives in how you start your morning, what you wear, the music you play when you're sad, or the way you take your coffee. These little details, repeated over a lifetime, make up your identity. And when you move into a nursing home, many of those things start to slip away. Not in one big dramatic moment, but slowly, quietly. Almost like someone turning down a dimmer switch, one notch at a time. I used to paint. I wasn't a professional, just someone who liked to mix colors and lose track of time, but the supplies didn't fit in my new room. And the table in the activity room never quite felt like mine, so I painted less, then not at all. I used to dress sharp, my own style, with scarves and bold colors, and a little perfume. Here, there's pressure to dress for practicality. Comfortable clothes, easy to wash fabrics, no jewelry that might get caught on anything. It's not a rule, exactly, but the culture encourages it. Before long, I didn't recognize myself in the mirror. I used to pray every morning, quietly in my own space. That changed too. Sharing walls, set schedules, distractions I couldn't control. Slowly, even my spiritual life began to feel muffled. And the worst part? It's not like anyone takes these things from you. They just get crowded out by the routine, by the system, by the pressure to adapt. And in trying to fit in, you start to forget what made you you in the first place. You become the lady in room 14, or the man with the walker. Staff remember your medication, your allergies, your next doctor's appointment, but they don't always remember your story. The places you've been, the things you've done, the passions you still carry, even if they've gone quiet. It's a strange thing, this slow fading of identity. You're still in there, you still feel like you, but the world around you starts interacting with a version of you that's smaller, simpler, less nuanced. You go from being a full person to being a profile on a clipboard. And after a while, you start playing that role. You go along with it. You stop speaking up about your preferences because it feels easier not to. You stop insisting on the details, the flair, the voice that once defined you. But the truth is, identity is not something we should have to trade in exchange for care. It's not something we should have to shrink just to fit inside a system. We don't stop being complex, creative, opinionated, passionate human beings just because we get older. We don't stop needing to be ourselves. So if you're making decisions about aging, yours or someone else's, ask this: will this place help me keep being me? Because at the end of the day, dignity isn't just about safety and cleanliness. It's about the right to remain who you are, unapologetically, until the very end. Number 7. It's hard to leave once you're in. I wish someone had told me how difficult it would be to leave. When I first moved into the nursing home, I thought of it as temporary, a transition, a place to heal, get stronger and maybe reevaluate down the line. But that line kept moving. And slowly, temporary became where I live now. Not because I wanted it to, but because leaving wasn't as simple as packing a bag. There's something about this place that makes time blur. Days run into each other. You stop planning. You stop imagining what life could look like elsewhere, because everything you do is now based around this schedule, this system, this room. You start to believe that this is the best or only option. The truth is, once you're in, it takes more than willpower to get out. It takes money, support, health, transportation, family who can take you in or help you transition to another environment. And even if those things are possible, there's also fear. Fear that maybe it'll be worse out there. Fear that you're no longer capable of managing life beyond these walls. I had moments where I thought, maybe I could move in with my daughter. But then I worried I'd be a burden. I thought about independent senior living communities, but the cost made my heart sink. I even considered trying to live alone again, but the what-ifs piled up faster than the hope. And when your decisions are being made by doctors, administrators, and well-meaning family, the window to leave starts to close without you even noticing. One day you look up and realize you've been here for years, that the world has reshaped around your absence, that you're no longer seen as someone who might go somewhere, only someone who is here. People don't talk about this part often. The inertia, the way a temporary solution slowly settles into permanence. But I'm telling you now because I wish someone had told me. I wish I had understood that getting in is easy. Getting out, that's a mountain. So before you step through those doors, think hard. Think about long-term goals. Think about whether this is truly the life you want, or just the easiest option in a hard moment. Because the older you get, the harder it becomes to pick up and start over. Not impossible, but hard. And when your world shrinks to 4 walls and a hallway, it's not just your body that stops moving, it's your vision of what life could still be. Conclusion: what I'd do differently, and what you should know. If I could go back, truly go back, I wouldn't make my decision in a rush. I wouldn't let fear or fatigue do the talking. I would ask more questions. I would explore every option. I would speak up louder when the voice in my gut said, "This doesn't feel right yet." Because now, after years in this place, I see the full picture. And it's not just about nursing homes being good or bad. It's about fit, about timing, about whether the life you imagine for yourself can still be lived inside the walls you're about to walk into. Some people thrive in these places. They find peace, routine, even joy. But for others, like me, it becomes a slow slide into something that doesn't feel like living, just existing. I want you to know this. You have choices, even when it doesn't feel like it. There are home care options, assisted living hybrids, living with family, co-housing, aging-in-place solutions with community support. They're not always easy, they're not always cheap, but they are worth exploring. And if you've already moved in, like I have, know this too. It's not too late to reassess, to ask new questions, to reach out, to advocate for yourself or your loved ones, because dignity doesn't expire, and your voice doesn't weaken with age. If anything, it carries more weight. Talk with your family, honestly. Ask the hard questions, not just the practical ones. Where would I feel most myself? What kind of support do I need to live? Not just survive. Don't settle for brochures and polite tours. Dig deeper, and don't let guilt, shame, or pressure do your decision-making for you. I'm sharing my regret not because I'm bitter, but because I want someone else to be wiser than I was. I want someone out there, maybe you, to pause just long enough to make a choice that truly honors your life, your needs, and your spirit. Because getting older isn't the end of your story. It's a sacred chapter, one that still deserves adventure, meaning, joy, and choice. Choose it with your eyes open. Choose it with your heart in the lead. And above all, don't forget who you are. Don't ever let the world shrink you. You're still here. You still matter. And you're not done yet.